Podcasts are sponsored by KaiNexus, where we're passionate about empowering people to spread continuous improvement with our web-based software. Learn more at www.makeimprovementhappen.com.
Hi, this is Mark Rabin. Welcome to episode 91 of Lean Blog Audio. It's September 2nd, 2015. This episode is titled Football, Holistic Systems, and Challenging the Way It's Always Been Done. Now, many of you might not care, I realize, but it's now football season. Major college football starts tomorrow night, and the NFL kicks off their season next Thursday. And on that note, if you're interested, if you'd like to kick off, if you will, a Kaizen approach to continuous improvement in your organization, I'd like to help. You can go to www.kaizenkickoff.com. But anyway, a couple of articles caught my eye this past week. They're both from the Wall Street Journal, which has a paywall, but hopefully you can find the article for free. I think the links work if you go to leanblog.org/audio91. The first article is, it's titled, The NFL's Best Practice, No Wasted Time. So the article starts off and it says, in order to win in the NFL, you still need a quarterback and a solid defense. But this season, you also have to tackle the same problem facing every office in the world, a solid time management plan. So I think, time management. Yeah, how well is the time used in practice? Are players practicing and learning, or are they just standing around? What's the ratio of that time in meetings that we hold at work? So it says again from the article, Bills offensive coordinator, that's the Buffalo Bills, offensive coordinator Greg Roman identified a problem with NFL practices. He said, in my experience, there's a lot of standing around, end of quote. So players don't learn by standing around. I mean, should they be busy or 100% utilized all of the time? Well, I mean, probably not 100% busy, as they need to rest and talk about what they're doing, and maybe talking is busy. But can you find a better way to run practice? One thing the Bills have done is to break practice up into two separate groups that are practicing in parallel. So in the article, Bills general manager Doug Whaley says, in this business, football, I guess, for some reason, smart and efficient are bad words. So my reaction is, people in healthcare sometimes don't like the word efficient. And I think it's because they think, unfortunately, that more efficient means poor quality. And of course, we know with lean that that's not the case. Efficiency and quality go hand in hand. So why is it that teams think smart and efficient are bad words? Are teams stuck in the way they've always done it? Though one benefit to running practices a new way is that the players who are trying to make the team get 25 active plays per practice instead of just 10. This probably means better player development, and it's easier for coaches to evaluate talent. Now, another thing the Bills have done is to maximize the amount of time spent moving and running plays on the field. Practice time is limited, but time in meeting rooms is apparently not. So again, from the article, they found another simple way to ensure their fast-moving practices move even faster. They don't correct mistakes on the field. They simply want to run as many plays in practice as possible. Then they will address any mistakes to players in the film room later. So Roman said, we're not going to call a timeout and stop the practice on the field to tell a receiver he needs to take a 2-yard split inside the numbers, whatever that means. He continues, the quickest way to get better at football is to play football, not watch football and not talk about football. It gives players the opportunities to make mistakes. So a Bills receiver said the no mistake correction philosophy has an added benefit for players because it allows a player to practice stress-free without walking on eggshells, afraid of offending their coach with a wrong route. Well, that will come after practice. So end of quote. And that's really interesting to me on many levels, including the Bills reconfiguring what they do and when. That's part of the discussion we often have when coming up with standardized work within a team in the workplace. The Bills are, as they basically say in the article, working smarter, not harder. Well, I guess they are. Maybe they're working harder. They're moving more. They're running more. But that's what football players are there to do. It'll be interesting, I think, to see if it pays off on the field in the win-loss record. I'm sure these new approaches are really intended to help them reach their true north goals, if they had them, which would certainly include winning. Now, the Bills learned or borrowed many of these best practices for practice from other teams. Organizations try to learn from each other all the time. GM tried to learn from Toyota. Health systems try to learn from ThedaCare or Virginia Mason or others. But the second article is about copying the practices that led to success somewhere else, and it was titled, "If You Can't Hire Urban Meyer, Can You Clone Him?" So Urban Meyer, of course, is the head coach at the Ohio State University, or they would say the Ohio State University. Now, hiring a head coach is sort of like hiring a plant manager or a CEO away from another organization. You can't replace your entire workforce, but you can replace a leader. Replacing the players or employees might not be the right approach anyway, if you can drive more change by improving the system they're a part of. Now, many factories and hospitals struggle with lean because they aren't adopting a system, a holistic system. They're often just picking and choosing pieces here and there. Now, recently I wrote about, and actually I did a podcast interview with MIT professor Zeynep Ton, and you can listen to her if you go to leanblog.org/228. That's part of my original podcast series. So in her book, The Good Job Strategy, it's a system that must be adopted holistically, and I think she's very right to emphasize that. So now the University of Houston and their head coach Tom Herman is trying to do that without copying every single insignificant detail. And Tom Herman had been one of the assistant coaches at Ohio State up until last year. And he said in the article, "People can say I'm just copying Urban Meyer. You're damn right I'm copying Urban Meyer. He has systematically pilfered, pirated, and repackaged nearly every element of Meyer's Ohio State program." He said, quote, "They've got a pretty good way of doing things up there and an unbelievable track record. I'm damn sure not going to mess with the formula." So, sorry for the dams, but I guess football coach, it could have been worse, but it was printed in the paper, so I read it. But from the article again, it says, Herman has added some of his own tweaks along the way, of course. He says he has taken ideas from every head coach he's worked under, but also admits he's tried not to veer too far from Myers' blueprint. While newcomers at Ohio State must wear a black stripe on their helmets, for instance, Herman decided that the stripe on Houston's helmets would be blue. Herman said, "I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. There are times it's kind of funny, but I've seen this approach work, and I'm not going to mess with that." So I think to conclude, there are leaders who have, for example, left ThedaCare to go lead other health systems. I wonder how they strike the balance between bringing in an approach that works and not messing with it, or at least it worked somewhere else, versus adapting and improving the approach for the new or different environment. So I'd love to hear what you think. If you've got stories or examples or comments or questions, go when you have the chance. If you're not listening at a computer, go to a computer, leanblog.org/audio91. And I guess it could be a tablet. It doesn't have to be a computer. But if you're listening while driving, don't try to go to the website while you're driving. Safety first. Thanks for listening.